Howdy guys, my name is Will Stelter. I'm a professional bladesmith, and today I picked up this beautiful 353 pound Soderfors Anvil. Now we went and picked this up this morning. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. The fellow listed it just a couple of days ago and I hopped on it right away because it is very rare to find an anvil this big and this clean in this part of the world. So today we're gonna be building a stand for this guy so that we can get it into use in the shop here. Now, this thing is massive. It is a tiny bit smaller than the Coleslaw that I have at my personal shop. That one is 384 or 89 pounds. I forget exactly. This is about 30 pounds smaller. But dimensionally, it's very different. It is about 35 inches from the heel to the horn with a 22-inch face, and it's about 5 1/4 wide. So the face is about an inch slimmer than that other larger anvil. These anvils, in my opinion, are some of the finest anvils ever made. They are extremely hard. Because it's fully cast steel, there's no steel top plate like a lot of the American, English, German, French forged anvils. Most of them had either cast in or forged on top plates. This thing is solid steel. And they did a flame hardening technique, which means that it got really, really, really hard. But because of that, the flame hardening doesn't penetrate quite as deep, and so it has a very thin layer of hardness. And so it's kind of like it has a really hard crust and kind of a gooey center to it. Soderfors only did cast anvils, they never forged anything. And right on the front of the foot here is 1914. So this thing is 111 years old. Now, some of the neat things about this anvil, one of the reasons why these anvils are so highly sought after is because the horns are perfectly conical on them. A lot of the forged anvils, Trentons, Peter Wrights, Hay Buddens, stuff like that, have kind of funky shaped horns, but because this is cast with a really well-designed pattern, it has a horn that is extremely nice to forge on. You're not gonna get any funky shapes. The whole horn is super nice. You can see down here, there's kind of the casting line there. The gentleman that I bought it from had bought a couple of tractor trailers that were just full of blacksmithing and metalworking tools, including this anvil. And so this thing has been sitting in a trailer for almost 40 years. Before that, it came from out on the coast somewhere, Seattle or Portland area. Sounds like it was in a welding shop. And that is incredible that it was in a welding shop because most anvils that are in welding shops are splattered with weld bead. They've got torch cuts in the face and stuff like that. They're usually treated very poorly, but whoever owned this obviously had a lot of pride in it and took very good care of it. An anvil is kind of always the centerpiece of a blacksmith shop, and so having something that's like this cool is gonna be really neat. I'm very excited about it. We do have a little bit of cleanup work left to do on it. The guy that I bought it from had wire wheeled it off, and we're just gonna touch up a couple of areas. It looks like under the horn and under the heel could probably use a little bit of wire wheel work. Then we're gonna polish the face a little bit, get it ready, just smooth it out a touch, get rid of any of the pitting that was on there. Well, we're not gonna get through all of the pitting, and that doesn't really matter. And then we're gonna kind of dress the corners, get rid of that mushrooming that was on there as well, so that we're not breaking that off as we're forging on these corners. And then after that, we're gonna get onto building a really nice stand for it. Bill, if your anvil's not mounted well, it's basically unusable. So we want this thing to be super useful, and we wanna build something that's gonna look good and match the aesthetic of the blacksmith shop and the anvil really well. I'm gonna interrupt really quick to talk about this right here. This is our favorite parts cleaner and degreaser. It works great. It gets all sorts of nasty stuff off, and if you use it in an enclosed space, it gets you absolutely loopy. Now here's the thing. You probably wouldn't eat this chip now, would you? My guess is hopefully not. Something interesting that I found out is that every single one of the ingredients that they list on this can be found in American food. To me, I'm no chemist, but that seems pretty dang horrifying, which is why we're very excited that today's sponsor is Thrive Market. Thrive Market keeps stuff like that out of your food. They pre-screen all of the food that goes onto their site and keep out over 1,000 questionable ingredients. So Thrive Market basically brings clean, healthy food straight to your door without having to go to a grocery store, which I think is extremely convenient. We get boxes that show up and they have things like these Good Crisp Company chips, as well as things like these Unreal peanut butter cups. These are our two main staples of shop snacks that we keep here. We go through a lot of these. I got 4 cases of these chips in this month's Thrive box. and I think 4 bags of those as well, and they are dang near gone. Thrive also does a lot of other really cool things, helping invest in the community. They accept SNAP and EBT, as well as helping people that might have a hard time affording healthier groceries. It's kind of a weird thing with our food system that the stuff that's really bad for you is the stuff that's cheap. You would think that a processed food that goes through a horrifying amount of chemicals and has solvents and all sorts of stuff involved in it would be more expensive, but you would be wrong. Unless you go to Thrive. Matt has been using Thrive Market for a long time now, and we really enjoy working with them. So if you're interested in getting healthy food at a much lower cost, you can go to thrivemarket.com/willstelter to receive 30% off your first order and a free gift when you join Thrive Market today. Thrive Market, thank you so much for sponsoring. We love you guys. Let's get back to the Anvil. All right, so we got it wire wheeled off. There's still a little dust on it, which is why it looks dirtier than it is. But now we're gonna grind off that mushrooming, chamfer these edges just a little bit, and then we'll get on to using the pneumatic palm sander to polish up the face. All right, now we got it cleaned up. Like I said, I didn't need to take a whole lot off the actual face, just dress those kind of front corners and polished up to 220 grit. There's still some natural, pitting in there. It's an old Anvil. It's not gonna affect the work piece whenever we're actually forging on there. Now we're gonna wipe it down with some boiled linseed oil. Just do this all day. If this is my whole job, was just oiling up old Anvil. Never mind. Didn't know you were filming. Okay, I got it hung up because I want to show you guys how loud this thing actually would be if we didn't mount it properly. Obviously, no one's mounting their Anvil like this, but it also shows the purity of the casting, and soda-fours are very good. This is a very early one, but even still, I'm gonna do a light ring first, and then I'm gonna whack it. Oh. It's still ringing. Dang. You guys see the rebound on that too? Look at that, it just... All right, it's the next morning now. Got the Anvil pushed into the shop, and I got these timbers cut at my home shop yesterday. Here's the thing, I didn't film it. If you wanna see what cutting wood looks like, we'll link a video right here. But here's what we got. We're gonna do 4 timbers. I was thinking 6 might be good, but I like the idea of a smaller base, and then I realized we have some angle iron in there with 4-inch flange, and so I can keep the actual base around the Anvil really small, and if I put that 4-inch flange on the outside edges, then we'll have the exact same amount of surface area, but keeping the wood part nice and small, which will be good. So what we're gonna do now is measure around the outside, figure out how long we wanna cut the steel to make a band to hold all of this together. For the bottom, we're gonna have those angle iron feet, and then for the top, we're just gonna do a band. So we're gonna have to cut it, we're gonna have to mark out where we wanna drill our holes to send lag bolts into it, and then we're gonna weld it and hammer it on. This is some well-seasoned, older 8x8 beams that were milled by my friend Heil that he had kicking around his shop. So it's what I built my last anvil stand out of, and they've been delightful. So let's get to measuring, and then the rest we're going to be cutting out of this 1/4 inch by 3 hot roll flat bar. This stuff is going to look super good. Be able to clean it up a little bit, wax it. It'll match the anvil very well. So we're going to toss these guys in the saw. I'm going to cut a bunch of 15 3/8 inch pieces because it looks like we have a lot of that to do. And then we'll get to laying out where we're going to drill our holes so we can really hold this thing together really well. All right, so we got everything cleaned up, deburred, got my angles cut on my feet, which looks very nice. Now it's time to weld up. I'm gonna do the top frame first and then the bottom. Oh, now we need to drill holes. That was close. Okay. Okay, guys, now we're gonna drill some holes. Okay, I did a little bit of quick math, and it looks like we need to drill our holes a little over 3 inches apart, about 3 1/16. So we go 3, 6 1/8, 9 3/8, or 9 3/16, and 12 1/4. And then we need to find our center line, which is 1.5 inches, and 1.5 inches. Nice. All right, now it's time to collect all of our top pieces and get them welded up on the welding table with the Fireball tools, big old squares. This should make it a very easy process to get everything nice and square, and then we'll probably have to hammer it on, is my guess. Things on the outside, grab some clamps. Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna have to hammer those on. Okay, so now I know we need to leave a pretty decent little gap there. The fact that these beams are not totally square just means that while I did have good measurements, it's yeah, leaving a little something to be desired as far as squareness goes. But that's okay. These three are already pretty square, and that's not a huge gap to be able to fill up with weld beads, so we'll be all right. Okay, that gap was big enough that I'm going to switch to the other Fireball square. This is the classic square, and so I can hammer it and then weld on the outside here, get it exactly where I want it. So I've got it clamped down right now. And now I can match the gap. All right, so we're gonna recess the band down, push it down about a 1/2 inch further, because we're gonna route out the shape of the anvil foot onto the top of this guy, and then we'll construction adhesive the anvil down to that. But so we're gonna come off the edges with the router bit, and so I don't want to, I don't want to try and leave just like a little 3/8 of an inch gap. That's just gonna tear it out. So we're just gonna come off the edges, but in order to do that, we need the anvil band to be down, but we need it to be on there and super solid so that we can do the routing and have it stay in the same place. All right, we're gonna go ahead and weld up the bottom band. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw a chamfer on here to help the stand slide on easier. That was loud. Holy smokes. I've got a 5/16 driver. We're just gonna go through and buzz it together. All right, I recruited Matt to do the actual routing because he used to be a professional woodworker. I'm gonna trace my foot shape on here, and then Matt will sneak on up to it with that router. All right, now we're gonna use a Kiridashi and clean up these little corners here that Matt wasn't able to get into. Matthew did a wonderful job routing this thing out. Like a glove. Like a 350-pound glove. Yeehaw. Wow. Matt did a swell job. Excellent job, Matthew. We put a couple of little shims in there so that the face of the anvil will sit flat, which is a good thing. And now I'm gonna go ahead and burn the face of it to make it dark and look nice before we slide that band back up and send in a couple of lag bolts. Know what I'm saying? All right, so one of the absolute most important parts of building an anvil stand and having an anvil that you're using is how you hold it down. See people do it all sorts of different ways, and in my opinion, most of the time they do it wrong. You don't need 80 pounds of chain wrapped around the waist of your anvil. For one thing, it looks really dumb, and it doesn't do anything. The main thing you need to focus on when you're mounting an anvil well is dampening the sound. Now, right now, if we had it just left it how it was and wrapped 80 pounds of chain around it, it would sound like this. That is super unacceptable. But what I found with my coleslaw is I just use construction adhesive on the base of the anvil. Now it's a pretty permanent mounting solution, so there's not a whole lot that we can do after we do that without kind of wrecking the stand, but it's really simple and it keeps the anvil really, really quiet. I'm gonna get the construction adhesive squirted down. Now, I also have a friend that will use liquid lead. He'll melt a bunch of lead and pour it down and then put the anvil in while it's hot. And that works very good too, but it's also toxic and like really dangerous. So we're not gonna do that. It's a little minty.
It is.
Kind of like this anvil.
Mmm. Stop doing that. What if this stuff's like solid?
All right, we're gonna cover up any of the glue lines with a little forge scale off the ground. All right, for some reference, it hasn't even dried yet, and this is already how much better it sounds. Come on. Now that that's on there, we're gonna go ahead and darken up our corners. Make them blend a little better. Can't be having no shiny corners with dark steel. That would be disgusting. All right. It's been about a day trying to let the glue set. The glue still hasn't fully set, which is kind of a bummer, but we're gonna go ahead and get this whole thing coated in a nice layer of boiled linseed oil. That will darken up the steel a little bit in the banding, and it'll make the wood darker, which I think will look a lot nicer. That looks very good. I really like how the oil looks on the old timbers. Here's the thing, Matt is not so convinced. He liked it when it was gray. If you guys liked it better when it was gray, for one thing, you're wrong. For another thing, drop a comment down below. I personally think that this looks way better. There's only one thing to do now, and that's to heat up a piece of steel and give this thing a test drive. Oh boy. Man, that looks good. Man, these crisp edges are just so nice to forge on. And the texture that's on the face, that kind of heavily pitted texture, while it might look a little nasty from here, it looks just fine when it's imprinted into the workpiece. Basically, whatever surface you're forging with, so your hammer die and the face of your anvil, is what is imprinted into your workpiece. And this is plenty smooth. You can't tell any of that texture. And this thing just feels so solid and it feels really good. So I'm tickled. This is fantastic. Another thing some of you guys may remember is the golden kirdashi. We did in fact give this away to a gentleman over on the East Coast named Robert Lund. Robert, congratulations. This will be going in the mail shortly. I am just so excited about this thing. It's gonna be super nice to have just a big statement piece of an anvil centered in the forging area. There's nothing quite like forging on just a giant anvil that's well mounted. It's just a whole different experience than working with a squirrely anvil. So it's a real treat to have found this guy, especially locally. I would have bought it almost no matter where it was at because this thing is sick. But it was very nice to find it locally. And yeah, if you guys want to see some more tool restoration videos, I do have a couple fun ideas planned. But if you'd rather see making stuff or tools, I'm not totally sure. Let us know in the comments down below. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you to our patrons for patronizing us. And thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's episode. Again, they're fantastic and you really should check them out. Even if they weren't a sponsor, I'd probably still be talking about them because they're great. So yeah, all right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.